Welcome to this video. This is a new video featuring one of my over-the-board games played recently in the European Club Cup in Bilbao, Spain, a great event. Before I'm starting with the actual content of the video, I'd like to quickly mention, as you have seen already, the different layout here of this video. I'm trying a new platform, and I think I'm going to stick with this platform for most of the analysis content. It's the analysis board of chess.com. It has some advantages over the platform that I used up to now. The main advantage is that I can here prepare a PGN file easily and load it into the whole thing with variations, so it makes it easier for me to present the prepared content. And this PGN file I will also attach to the video, so you can look at the description, and if you want, load this PGN into your PGN viewer, or if you want, on chess.com on their analysis board, the same as I'm using, then you can look at it and maybe check things with the computer, or just think of your own about the moves. Please feedback on those on this layout is very much welcome. I made sure that the screen real estate is used properly and the board is as big as possible. Of course, with widescreen nowadays, a squared chessboard will always be a bit tricky. Some space will always be unused by a board on the left and right hand side, and I try to make it as good as possible, this layout. Okay, let's start with the actual game. The European Club Cup is a 7-round Swiss event for teams, obviously, Club Cup. And I only joined for the 3rd round, so my team had already played 2 rounds. I joined only for the 3rd round and played the final 5 rounds because I had a commitment in the German league. So I arrived late and then played rounds 3 to 7. So this is my first game of the tournament, but the 3rd round of the event. It's a bit irritating, maybe. We were playing an English team, and I was playing also a player from England. It's not the same. I mean, those teams are full of international players. It can happen that you play a team from Italy and there's no Italian in there. Okay, I'm playing Liam Varnam, an English player rated about 120. And let's get right into the action. We were playing a Sicilian, which is not so common for me. I normally play e5, double king pawn, but in my preparation I had noticed something. I can put up what I played. I played the Sicilian Khan variation with a6. I had recognized that my opponent normally, if we put this on the board, what we actually played, that my opponent normally against other Sicilian lines, he liked to play the English attack with bishop e3 and f3. And the Sicilian Khan is a tricky line that prevents the English attack. Funny enough, if white now tries to play in this style with bishop e3, he's getting hit by this direct attack on c3, and very quickly his center will come under huge pressure. Of course, this is something that my opponent also knows. He tended to avoid this in earlier games, but he played pretty inoffensive setups then. He played bishop e2, for example, which is not a bad move, but not very ambitious. Or he played something like this, which is really giving black a very easy game with things like b5 and a quick bishop b7 coming. So I was sort of speculating that he was doing one of those not very ambitious tries, but then he played bishop d3. So my gamble didn't really pay it off. This is a main line, and unfortunately not something that I really know. What I did know is that now knight c6 is a move, and I played that. And I knew that they very often play bishop e3, and I was hoping for that, because after bishop e3 I'm going knight f6, castles, and then something like h5, intending this funny idea. This is at least something that I would have known a bit, as I have played this line. Now we transpose to Termanov Sicilian. I've played this line years ago, and at least I would have had some idea what to do. But he didn't do that. He jumped a little bit too far back. After knight c6, he took on c6, and yeah, here I'm faced with a dilemma, because I don't like any recapture. B takes c is possible. After castles, black plays something like d5, and I'm not sure that I like the combination of the moves queen c7 here and a6. This looks very slow for this structure. It is probably objectively okay, but it's nothing that I particularly like. And queen takes I didn't really consider. I afterwards learned that this is played sometimes. I mean, Grishuk played it just a couple of years ago. Something like this happened, and then he went with the knight to g6. Yeah, maybe. I actually prefer that to what I played in the game, but it's yeah, it's nothing great for black, really. Yeah, at the end I decided to take with the d-pawn, or pretty quickly I decided to take with the d-pawn, simply because I disliked b takes and queen takes. I didn't really think about. Yeah, now after castles and e5 we get a pretty normal looking position. Yeah, we have an open d-file and pretty symmetrical pawn structure on the king side. What is a bit tricky is what white is doing next. He played now f4, so he played an active move, yeah, not any passive move, bishop e3 or anything, but f4, and this is just a good move. I am not very well developed, and I should catch up in development as soon as possible. I went knight f6, and now he played the move f5. That's a good move. It's much better than for example, taking on e5. This looks good at first, because you might think that queen e5, bishop f4 is annoying. White gets a tempo on the queen and maybe can push e5 after my queen has moved. But black has the move knight g4, which is much stronger. After knight g4, I can take with the knight back on e5 and have this excellent knight square on e5 later. So the capture is really not a good idea. What white should do, and what he did do, is to play f5. He went f5, and now we see the big problem of my setup. At least I perceived it as a big problem. This is a position that has been played dozens of times by good players as black, but I don't like it. It's just like that. And I don't like it because, well, my bishop is always biting on this pawn. I have no natural development now with bishop e6 where it would want to be. I cannot do that, and I don't really know where to deploy this bishop actively. Of course, what I can do, and what lots of players play now, is to go for setup with b5. Yeah, so they often give the check, as I did. I also give the check on c5, king h1, and then a typical way to play here is b5, to maybe get the bishop to b7. However, I was unsure how good this really is, because I always ask myself, if he goes a4 in this position, which is a pretty normal way to play, attacking this pawn structure, how do I react? I don't want to play b4, giving up the c4 square. Maybe I need to, but I really don't like to do that, giving up this square here. Maybe, yeah, a knight can later come there. This is the wrong route. I mean, this to b1, to d2, and then to c4. Yeah, this kind of way. I mean, I don't like to give up this, and I I don't know. If I'm here, how do I ever get my bishop activated? I cannot play c5, as then the pressure on b5 gets too big. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just not understanding the position correctly, but I don't like it. Yeah, I went h5 in the game. This might look weird, but it has some ideas, twofold. I mean, one is this. Maybe I can sometimes activate my knight like that, threaten on f2. Sometimes the h-pawn can be a nuisance for white. The rook is used basically on its original square here. And the other thing that worried me a bit is that white maybe played something like this to attack the g7 pawn. And I wanted to put it on h4 to control the g3 square. Yeah, h5 in fact is also played there, so I played a couple of theoretical moves without really knowing it. He went bishop g5 and I played h4. Yeah, according to the plan that I had. Black can play knight g4, but after queen e2, yeah, something like that. After queen e2, it really does not lead too much. So I think in comparison, h4 is better. He went queen f3, and yeah, as mentioned, I wasn't really very enthusiastic about playing b5, so I went bishop d7, a very yeah, humble move. But what I want to do is just rook d8 or castling long, and get the rook on a8 into the game. Played bishop e3. Yeah, this actually did surprise me a bit, that he would play bishop g5 and then back, but it is in fact not a bad idea, strategically speaking. It gets rid of my bishop on c5, and I basically have to trade. I mean, what else is there? I took. And now the queen has a good position on e3, really. It looks at those critical squares, and it supports these kind of ideas. The knight might come to a4 and then jump from there to the weak squares on c5 and b6. Yeah, it also somewhat discouraged my idea to castle long. I didn't want that now. My queen side looks weak. I played rook d8. I think this is okay. Rook d8. He played knight a4 and, as planned, bishop c8. So I got in the a8 rook into the game. Now this is playing now. And the bishop on c8 is not, yeah, not great, but it's not something that cannot be solved later. Maybe at a later stage, b6, c5, bishop b7. This was what I was thinking. Not easy to do at the moment because he has this grip on the critical squares c5 and b6. So yeah, how to assess the position? I think white probably is slightly better. He should be slightly more comfortable here, but nothing really dramatic has happened yet. So I wasn't very yeah, thrilled about all of it. Especially I was playing the Sicilian to get a somewhat more dynamic game, and it didn't happen. I was still having sort of a symmetrical position where I'm a little bit worse. It's always the kind of thinking you could have gotten that with your usual stuff anyway. Okay, played rook d1. Makes sense putting it on the d file. Yeah, I'm not totally sure about my next maneuver, but what I wanted to do is to sort of make sure that his knight is getting back. Yeah, rook d4, knight c5, and queen e7, which pushes the knight back a bit or provokes a move like c3. c3. Now he could have played as well, but he went knight b3. It's also okay. It's just okay. Rook d6, and now he played a strong move. It's a simple move, but it's still strong. He played bishop e2. This is just a good improving move. White is covering this important square, so I don't have a knight g4 counterplay, and he intends to exchange the rook on d6. I really don't have anything else than capturing. Yeah, he will exchange my active rook and replaces it with his own rook. So I exchanged, and now it dawned on me that this is all nice with the h file, and and the rook supporting the pawn, but well, the d-file, I need a rook on the d-file badly, so I castled. The point is that he cannot easily win the pawn here on h4, as I'm always counter-attacking the e4 pawn. This is in fact why the position is still quite okay for black. The knight on f6 is attacking his e4 pawn, which is a weakness as well. And another point that definitely is important and gets very, very important later in the game is that this h4 pawn is slightly cramping his king side. His king is not so secure. My king is more secure than his. If you imagine a queen entering the position, there are back rank ideas, and maybe h3 to irritate him. We will see all of that later. It looks very, or sounds very abstract at the moment, but it's definitely a case. Whenever white pushes the f-pawn in the Sicilian with a short castling position, he tends to open his king. So this, I think, is still about balanced. Maybe white has a slight edge, but it's nothing too dramatic. However, the game now, being pretty logical up to this point, now gets very irrational. He plays queen d3. That's still rational. Yeah, using the d-file, doubling on the d-file. And yeah, here we come to the first point where I started to play yeah, slightly risky moves. I here quickly decided to play queen b4, activating the queen. I'm sorry. That's not that bad, but it seems that c5 was probably a wiser choice. The idea is to put the bishop on c6. It's a good moment for this move, as queen d6 now is tricky because he just blunders the pawn. This is what I was mentioning earlier. I have this counter threats against the e4 pawn. And this seems to be a bit better than what I did. My queen b4 move is not terrible, but it's not really giving me much benefits if we look at the game. He played this really well now. He played bishop f3. My original idea with queen b4, by the way, was that after bishop f3, I wanted to play bishop f5. It would be fantastic to play because it would solve all of my problems immediately. This stupid c8 bishop would come in with a sacrifice, and after this, yeah, fantastic. I'm getting the piece back and even open the whole position for maybe a later play on his king. However, this has a huge hole, this kind of idea, and this is a3. Okay, I need to move the queen, and now he has got this, and I'm losing a piece. Yeah, or let's say I have given up a piece and I'm not getting it back. Fortunately, I recognize this as often. Yeah, you recognize your fault right away. Right after he played this, I recognized, oh wait, I cannot take on f5. So okay, I had to do something else, and I really liked the idea, so I went b6. Yeah, this is not working. I went b6. The idea is that now this is threatening. Yeah, I'm covering those squares on c5 and a5. So if he does something really unimportant like that, let's say, I can do that because now there is no knight c5 and black has a good position. So b6, based on this idea, bishop takes f5. However, it's not really leading too much. I could have played rook e8 instead, which is simpler and still about equal. He didn't play h3, of course. He played a3. This is stronger, attacking the queen. I went to a4, and he went knight d2. Yeah, and here we have a position where he's intending to play knight c4, activating the knight. And here I really fail to appreciate the strength of this move, this knight c4 move. I played queen b5 here. It seems that probably a5 was a better choice. The idea is to get this in, which of course also was an idea of my b6 move, yeah, to get this thing set up, maybe activating this bishop. After a5, white has this funny move, intending knight c3, trapping my queen. Yeah, this is really a problem. My queen, it's not totally trapped. I can go to d4, but it costs a pawn. I probably should immediately get this going. And this is a really interesting line. Now I'm threatening bishop f5, and white really has no way to prevent that. I'm getting a pawn back that way. But if we consider this, we see that in this line, yeah, something like that, white is just better. Yeah, he's definitely calling the shots here. The bishop is stronger than the knight, and this pawn formation is potentially weak. I'm not lost here or anything, but it's a very unattractive position to play. Still, a5 is better than what I did. I played the move queen b5. Let me go back to that. I played this move, after which she naturally replied knight c4. What I failed to appreciate was I went a5, which I planned, and what I didn't really see is that the move queen b3 now would have been very interesting. He played that, but queen b3 would have been very interesting. The idea is simply to take on b5 and then take off one of those pawns. And yeah, what exactly is my reply? Huh. Not easy. Queen c5 is in fact the best move, and this is a very tricky move, and I'm not so sure if I would have played all that. The big point is that now knight takes b6 is not that great, in fact, because I can sacrifice here. It's a very very unusual idea. Then queen f2. And it turns out that white all of a sudden is not that coordinated. Yeah, something like bishop c4, there's knight f4, knight g4, I'm sorry, intending this move. And black has a great counterplay all of a sudden. So knight takes b6 isn't really good. It's very very surprising. But white can play better. He can play h3 here. And now I'm still sitting there. I don't know what to do about my pawn. Now this is a real threat. And it seems that the best move here is g6 given by the computer. And it's just the thing that it's not clear if I would have found all that. So white puts me under huge pressure to find those moves. The idea of this is if white takes, yeah, I have bishop e6. Very nice point. Yeah, white still has can play. Yeah, queen e3 takes, queen h6. This kind of thing is all very interesting, but it's just about okay for black. But it would have taken me some effort to find that. What he played is b3, and this is less testing. After b3, I could have had I could have gotten a pretty easy game, or let's say a satisfactory game. It's not like I'm better or what, but I should have just played queen c5 now, which unfortunately I didn't. But queen c5 now would have been okay. Of course I wanted to go to c5, but I had a more ambitious idea, which however had a big hole. Yeah, queen c5 is just better. The idea is to have a look at this pawn, have a look here. Yeah, the dark squares are weak in white's camp, and maybe b5 at the right moment. After that, I'm probably still okay. It's nothing terrible happening to me. For example, here he can play queen e3. He can trade bishop b7, knight there, c5, and I'm getting a counter attack against e4 going. What I mentioned earlier, this is also weakness in white's camp. This probably will lead to a position which is about equal. However, I played the move a4. a4 is what I played. And now I need to mention the absolute key thing about this position and what happens afterwards. The absolute most important thing of this now was not the position on the board. It was, I mean, the position on the board is always very important, but it was very important to know that at this point I had probably around 30 to 40 minutes left. We were playing with 90 minutes for 40 moves and 30-second increment. I had 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I know, lots of time left. And my opponent, he was down to a little bit more than his increment, like maybe a minute or so. He had spent tons of time earlier, and he was visibly nervous, and this really affected the play very considerably, because I still didn't like my position very much, and I felt that I maybe should complicate matters to irritate him with little time on the clock, maybe provoke some mistake. And this made me play also very quickly, and I made some mistakes in the process. a4 is one of those. What I didn't appreciate after a4 is that he can now play a very strong move. It's not a very difficult move once you see it, but it was still missed by him with little time on the clock. He captured on a4, but white has a strong move in queen e3. Once you see it, it's very apparent that this is strong. It attacks b6. And what exactly am I doing? Yeah, I can take on b3 if I want. Yeah, like capture. And now after c5, there's just this one falling. And what exactly is my move now? I can try something like bishop a6, but a line like that is just not very attractive. I'm down a pawn, c6 is falling, and my coordination is horrible. There's also this one coming. Yeah, queen e3 was a very strong move by for white. He took on a5, however, on a4, I'm sorry, and I went to c5. So I wanted to go to c5 anyway, but I wanted to insert this. I'd never considered queen e3, which is of course quite embarrassing. It's a pretty simple move to spot. Okay, here it seems I'm okay again, really. This extra pawn is not giving white much. I wanted to go here because I wanted to threaten bishop a6 immediately, yeah, using this pin. He went here and I went bishop a6. This was my plan, activating this bishop. Yeah, he now has this knight hanging, and it went to d6. Yeah, this active post. And this is what I wanted to have on the board, really, because I thought that this knight, it looks good on d6. But it has nowhere to go. It's quite funny. It attacks f7, but if you look at it, all squares like c4, they're controlled by black pieces. And I was always thinking that I should have some counter chances with queen f2, maybe bishop e2 or h3, this kind of counter-attacking ideas. And I was briefly considering queen f2 here. Yeah, queen f2. And thought that, okay, this should probably be okay. I have bishop e2, I have h3, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I looked at this for maybe 20-30 seconds or something, and then all of a sudden I got an idea, and the idea was, what about if I play, and I played that, if I play king h7, yeah, and what about this? And I was thinking, isn't this a good idea? Yeah, I'm getting out of this getting away from the f7 pawn, and now I'm threatening rook d8 using this pin here on the d file on the knight. And isn't this a very difficult move to answer for white? After knight f7, yeah, I have bishop c4. I'm winning this piece back, not back. I'm winning it. Yeah, was my idea at least. And he had as mentioned, he had like 30 seconds on the clock. He was only getting the increment back all the time for like 1 or 2 moves already. And I just then quickly decided to play this king h7 move. Yeah, I didn't really think about this more than a minute or so. And this is of course just pure gambling and not really good chess. I really should have considered this much longer. And yeah, the big point is, I mean, as you may already have seen, after king h7, white can really capture. After bishop c4, he gives this check, king to h6. Yeah, otherwise I'm just down material. And now he just plays queen c3. And the problem is, yeah, the knight, I can take it, but what about this? This is a mate. Now I can play this, but no, I'm checkmated with the queen on e3 giving checkmate to the king. So yeah, it was a very stupid decision to play king h7. However, as I mentioned, he had 30 seconds and he probably had thought beforehand, and this is happening very often. You think about some other move and you sort of, with little time, you have a plan made out for the other move, and he just played what he intended to do anyway. He went not knight f7, but he played c4. He was thinking about this idea anyway to block my bishop. Yeah, so that it's not coming in. This is not such a terrible move in itself. It's just not using this chance with knight f7 that was presented to him. Yeah, now I went quickly. Rook d8, as mentioned. Of course, I was oblivious that knight f7 was working because it happened so quickly. I only saw that afterwards, after the game. Rook d8, and now is in this pin. And my idea was that now, after knight f7, which he didn't play, could have played, I will take. Recaptures, yeah. Bishop takes shows one of the ideas, with black winning already, with knight f2 coming. So queen takes, bishop takes, can give this check, and this kind of position is just a mess. Yeah, very tough to play, especially with no time on the clock. And this was what I was hoping for, trying to get a super complicated thing going with him having no time on the clock. Basically playing a sort of blitz game. Yeah. And hoping to be the one with the better nerves and so on. But it didn't happen. He played a different move. He played queen to b4. A good move, by the way. He really played this okay, queen b4. And here again, it's a situation. I had 30 minutes, he had 30 seconds. And I was just thinking, okay, it's clear I cannot trade queens and I shouldn't allow him to take on c5, so I should move the queen. And I was thinking, okay, to e3 or to f2, and I quickly decided to play queen e3. As it turns out, queen f2 was the right move. After queen f2, I probably have a good enough position or an active enough position to draw the game. Yeah, one thing that might happen is h3. That's very sensible, getting some luft for the king and making sure I don't play h3. Yeah, here a good line is rook d7, very important move. It keeps f7 protected and sort of asks white, what are you doing next? It also prepares in some situations maybe knight d8 using the pin. Yeah, not so easy to get in, but possible. Yeah, king h2 probably, and now maybe queen e3, intending to give this check and keeping b6 protected. Here black has enough activity to keep the game balanced. In the game, however, I didn't play that. I very quickly decided to dash out a move. I played queen e3. And queen e3 is again a big mistake. And here he could have gotten a large advantage with the move rook e1. Rook e1, yeah, this would have been strong. The big point is after rook e1, I play queen f2, and he really can take this pawn. And this is what he didn't consider in the game. The problem is, if you have absolutely no time on the clock, you tend to see ghost. And here this looks very dangerous for white after rook d2. Yeah, I'm attacking the rook all of a sudden, and I have this h3 idea. And the thing is, white here has a very reliable defense with the passive looking move rook to g1. It looks passive, but it's just keeping the whole thing together. I now have no active possibility. The big point is that a move like h3, which might look tricky, is simply refuted by knight g5 check, and he's taking with the knight with a very easy win. So rook e1 now was very, very strong. He, however, didn't play that. Well, he had no time on the clock. He played not this one, he played a5. And with a5, he overlooked a tactic. And yeah, well, I had seen the tactic, but he overlooked it. The problem was that now I could take on a5. And here he realized that his original idea was not working. What he, of course, wanted to do, he wanted to just take here and ask this bishop a very embarrassing question. What are you doing? And this rook is also hanging. It looks terrible. But the problem is, it's not working. White is losing now due to a tactic. And this tactic is maybe something that you can try to spot on your own if you want. The tactic is rook takes d6. Yeah, and after rook takes d6, knight takes e4, black is winning. Yeah, I can mate him on the back rank if he captures on e4. And the rook is attacked, and I'm threatening the good old smothered mate. So something like that. Yeah, that was very unlucky for white, that this planned move queen takes f5 was not working. This is what I was mentioning a lot earlier, that white's king position is a little bit insecure, and this got to him at the end. Here it's really already very problematic for white. He went queen d2. Yeah, with 1 second on the clock. I think I remember 1 or 2 seconds he had left. And now I can take on a3. And this is why I went to e3 in the first place. I wanted to have this lateral attack as well. Yeah, queen takes a3, and now black has a pawn. I've got an extra pawn now, all of a sudden. And the main thing is, this is a terrible pin. My idea now is simply to play rook knight e8 at the right moment and win the knight with this pin. And here he was visibly upset, yeah, that he had spoiled the position and went queen f2, which just gives away the knight. Yeah, but it really does not matter that much anymore. It's a blunder, but white now is lost. I can play rook d7, knight e8, this kind of ideas. He went here, and I just took it. After some more moves here, white resigned. So this was the first game of this event, and a very, very lucky win. White had numerous ways to win the game, and it's a clear demonstration how bad time management can get you. He would have easily won this game if he had more time on the clock after around move 30. However, it's also needs to be said that if he had more time on the clock there, like 10 minutes or so, I definitely wouldn't have played those blitz type of moves as well. I was really speculating that he would be in trouble to find those moves in 30 seconds. I didn't want to spend like 5 minutes and give him the opportunity to think on my time. This kind of gambling attitude is questionable, but it sometimes can get results, like you see here in this game. It was in fact questionable, because at the spots where I made those gambling moves, I had decent continuation that I could play. Playing quickly in the opponent's time trouble, if you have time on the clock, makes some sense if you really have a totally lost position to keep the pressure on, but I didn't really have a totally lost position, so it wasn't really something that I should be particularly proud of. Okay, this was the first game for me in this event, and the coming days I will show you the other games. They were all interesting. There was no dull or uneventful game among them, and I can already assure you that this was the only game where I was exceptionally lucky in. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.